Hello and welcome to the aForm Show, the premier podcast for all things architecture and design across the MENA region. Welcome to your tribe. Hey, are you tired of specifying boring door hardware? If your ironmongery specs feel more meh than wow, it's time to have a look at EuroArt, the skilled British experts for door hardware, furniture fittings, glass fittings, and sliding doors that are taking your specification headaches away. From top quality pocket doors to leather wrap door handles, EuroArt offers hardware that's both durable and stunning for all budget levels. Whether you're designing or upgrading a residential or commercial project, their finishes such as satin, titanium blue, and gunmetal bring sophistication to any space. You need to match a finish or customize a pull handle to your customer's unusual design ideas? No worries, EuroArt has got you covered. For hardware that stands the test of time and looks great while doing it, visit euro-art.co.uk or send an email to hello@euro-art.co.uk or visit the EuroArt Design Center in Al Garhoud, Dubai for a touch and feel experience. Now, back to the episode. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. Today we are joined by Noelle Halabi, Associate Director at Edge Architects, an award-winning architecture and design consultancy with offices in Dubai. Noelle brings a wealth of experience in leading innovative projects that shape the region's architectural landscape. We are beyond excited to have her on the show. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Noelle.
Thank you. Pleasure to be on the show. Thanks for inviting me.
Awesome. I know that this took a bit of time to sort of put together, but...
I know. It took us, a year and a half?
Yeah.
Nearly 2 years?
Yeah. People think that, guests just, I just call up people and they just rock up to an episode.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. I mean, designers listening in know how busy calendars can be. So getting time is always the most important thing.
Yes, especially in Dubai.
So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So I would like to start with Edge as a practice studio and of course yourself and your role at Edge. Yes. So for people listening in who have probably not heard of Edge or are not familiar with the kind of work that you do, could you share what you guys do? What are you working on? What's exciting? What's happening?
Yes, lots of exciting things happening at Edge. Edge has been around since 2009 and it's a leading practice in architecture, interior design and master planning. My role at Edge is I'm an associate director, an architect, and I am working very closely to shape Edge in the growth and the strategy that it's going into in the region. It's got a bit of a unique situation to it, is that it's actually not new. It's not a new firm, but it has a new team because it rebranded a few years ago. It went through a transition with a new managing director and a new managing team and a new team as well that has been established. So we were quiet for some time, I think, and it was around, COVID time when there was a change of ownership and all that stuff that was happening, which, here is it's a small community. Yep. So when we started going to events and started going, and seeing people were kind of surprised that we were still around. It was like, oh, Edge, you're still here. And we're like, of course we're still here. So we rebranded, same name, same logo, same everything, just a kind of new approach, a new team. And it's quite exciting, actually. It's very, very exciting. It's been exciting since all of the change has happened. Yeah. And we're growing and we're continuing to grow and we're busy. And as you can see, it's Saturday and there are some people in the office because we have some deadlines approaching. But it's good. It's very, very exciting, especially to be in the region in what's happening at the moment. I think around COVID, everybody was kind of, cautious and worried, what's going to happen. Yeah. But I feel like we've really survived it here in the region. If I wouldn't even say just survived it, we're going into a new direction right now and it's just been on the rise. And there's an influx of expats as well that are coming into the region, which means, more schools, which means more homes, more business. A lot of people are opening up their businesses here as well. So more office fit outs. It's on the rise and it's quite exciting to be in the region.
I think there was a stat that I heard recently, which I thought was quite shocking. There was something like 500,000 trade licenses issued across the country, not just Dubai. And again, assume, sort of 50% of that were holding companies or whatever. But even if you take 200,000 new companies that are starting at an average of 5 employees, that's like 1 million people who need office space and transport and living and all of that. So Yeah, it's a whole new world now.
Yeah, it's an exciting place to be. There's a lot of opportunities here as well.
Yeah.
So
for a lot of people who've been here sort of 5 to 8 years, for them, they're sort of seeing the change, so to speak. They're like, maybe had just come in, maybe a year or two before COVID, and then COVID happened, and then they kind of saw how the leadership, I suppose, operates here, and how, in comparison to the world, I think we were fairly better off. And then I think
definitely,
and I think we sort of bounced back also a lot quicker than most places.
Definitely, yes. I think it was the place to be around that time.
Yeah. And then I think just, given the way that the world is at the moment, Dubai is, well, the UAE generally is a fairly comfortable place to be, I would think. So, but for someone like myself, when I have these conversations with designers who are like, there's so much change happening, and it's at times difficult to sort of keep up with, what clients want and how aspirations change over time. For someone like myself, I feel the exact opposite. I feel that when nothing changes, I get concerned.
Yeah.
Because for me, having been here for this long, change is the only sort of constant that I know.
You're used to it. Having been born and raised here and lived here all your life.
Yeah. So for me, it's like, a city should grow at this pace, and, like, why doesn't everybody else do it? Like, for me, it's so almost jarring when I look at other cities and I'm like, why are things so slow here?
It's interesting you say that, because where I come from, it takes I wouldn't say a very long time, but there is a framework in place.
100%.
And there is a lot of processes in place for places to change.
Yes.
Whether it's a neighborhood, whether it's a city. And there's a lot at stake when it comes to something like decision making can take some time. So where I come from, things are a lot slower. So I'm born and raised Melbourne, Australia. And although Melbourne's quite a diverse, vibrant, multicultural, quite layered, as a city, but if you want to talk about how fast things go up there in comparison to here, it's very, very, very different. So that was so I came here about 6 years ago, and that was one of the things I noticed is here, you turn every corner and something new is happening, or you leave here for a few weeks and you come back and
there's a whole new road.
And it could be that you maybe haven't passed that road in a couple of months.
Yes.
It actually happened to me, just last week when I was going down one of the roads and I hadn't been there in a while, and there's a whole building just gone up, and I'm like, oh, wow. And then I go back home and things are, more or less the same, or it just takes a bit longer for things to happen. But my city went through a transformation, I would say, starting in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, where, if you know the architect Jan Gell, he kind of came into the city in the 60s, 70s, and he had this kind of framework in place with the municipality, with the city of Melbourne, to activate the city, to bring it to life. So the city's it's transformed since the 80s. It's become a very, very different city the way we live it right now, but that took time.
Yes.
So that framework was like a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year plan.
Yeah.
But it took a lot of engagement from all the right stakeholders in order to make the right decisions. And I think sometimes that's a good thing because it's thoroughly researched. And
100%.
then you also think about, cities, and you think about neighborhoods, and you think about public transportation, streets, people, you factor in the demographics, you factor in how are people going to use that space. And it's continuous. It's always continuous. And that's why certain things take certain amount of time for it to develop. But I think there needs to be a bit of a balance between the two.
Yes.
So I think bringing in these kind of frameworks here and planning as well in the long term with the speed that it goes up in would be interesting too, which I think you can already see it kind of forming and shaping with the 2040 vision for Dubai.
Exactly. Yeah. I completely agree. I think there was, if I were to look back maybe a decade or a decade and a half, I think the whole push for development, be it governmental projects, be it private developers, whatever it was, I think the vision was to catch up to sort of world standards, if you would. I remember this quote, which was, I think it was by the Sheikh himself, which was, he wanted Dubai to sort of become an international time zone, wherein when you typically travel to hotels, you see, New York, London, Sydney, and he wanted Dubai next to that, which I thought was a number one water vision, right?
I know, definitely.
I mean, to be in a desert and to then think that that's where it's going to be.
It's extraordinary, yeah.
So that was one. And I think, so because of that, I think think the incentive for a very long time was to catch up to that. And I think over the last decade or so, they've sort of realized that, yeah, we're kind of on par now.
Yeah.
But now we should probably look inward and start to refine rather than grow for the sake of growth.
Yes.
And I think exactly what you said is happening. There is a lot more governance now. There is a lot more active involvement across many stakeholders, be it, the RTA, be it the metro, be it whatever. So yeah.
I love that is happening. And I actually love that I'm here for it, because we do a lot of master plans in-house here in the office, and we're tying into that vision. So all these, activations for the residential communities that we're creating, or mixed-use development that we're creating, will tie into that. And I love that we can tie into that now, because maybe, a few years ago, if that wasn't in place, you're not really having that structure or reform, to follow. But it's nice to have that right now, which is kind of like your foundation, and build on top of that too, and create, this kind of mixed use, vibrant community where it's tying into everything. There's also one of the interesting things that's getting done, which is in Abu Dhabi, in Masdar City, is the transit oriented city, where, that kind of shapes and forms and is the foundation of the mixed use development that you're creating. And I think that's very forward thinking, especially for future cities. It's going to be implemented all around the world, because what is important is not just to have a 20-minute neighborhood or a 15-minute neighborhood, which has been around for some time now, but it's to have access to everything.
Yes.
And it's to be able to, use less cars, use public transportation in different methods with a variety, and to have that at your doorstep and be able to walk and be able to use that. I think that the future is actually integrating that within our cities, within our neighborhoods, and having seen that here, and it's happening at the moment. So one of our projects, Link, is doing that and has that in its foundation, and it's getting built at the moment. And I just can't wait to see that come to life, because it's awesome. It's quite exciting to witness. So I think we're in an exciting era where I feel like a lot of things are tying, into place, because we know what works from the past. We know what could work in the future. It's tying all that in and using the tools that we have right now, because AI is expanding in such, it's leaps transforming. Exactly. But I think in our field, it's still a little bit, I don't know, ambiguous, or still we're not sure how to use it. But I think it's very important that we jump on that, 100%. On that train, and because it's a tool. And without it, we won't be able to advance or go and accelerate and be up to that standard with, with the tech and all the other sectors,
I kind of have a bit of an opinion on that, and I'd like to get your input as well, which is, at the moment, it seems that there's the AI input that most designers sort of deal with tends to be fairly on the design part of the process, which is fine. I have a suspicion that if it were to creep into the back end of things, which is more production of a DD package, which is site snagging, for example. How? I'm not really sure, but I'm just thinking that if it goes into those parts of the project lifecycle, I think it might be a lot more beneficial. The reason why is because I'm of the opinion that the design phase of any project till it gets built and handed over and whatever, to me, for the project, that's the most crucial part, because that's where you're figuring out all your systems that work together, you're, doing a spec and all of that stuff. And that's typically a phase which is quite rushed.
Very rushed, yes.
And I have a feeling if we're able to, say, shave off 5 months of a build program, or if you're able to shave off, instead of doing 16 weeks for a DD package, if that becomes 2 weeks, and you get another 10 weeks that you can add on to the front end for the design of it, I feel like long term, it might have a better sort of process. In my mind, it's almost like, obviously everyone works in BIM, so it's almost like you design in BIM and
BIM does it for you.
a week of work and you have a DD package, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would love to see something like that.
Yes.
But we have to, it's interesting that you're thinking like that, because I almost was thinking the same way, recently is how do we make our workflow more efficient?
Exactly.
It has to be more efficient.
Yeah.
And you're right. If you want to make something more efficient, it makes sense to actually do it in the later stage once you've figured out the design stage, because design can't be rushed, right?
Exactly.
There's back and forth. You need to be in the same room as certain people, with certain people, with different, decision makers. You need to figure out the design with the client, the consultants, everybody. So that can't be rushed, which is usually rushed, as you said. And we always do request more time and we get, squeezed in. But it makes more sense that at DD stage, why can't we make that stage more efficient?
Exactly.
With a tool that can accelerate the program. I mean, there are already tools, by the way, AI tools for master planning. You plug in, or even like for spatial analysis.
Yes.
You plug in the data and it kind of gives you the feasibility, what works.
Yes.
If you want, this number of apartments, if you want, if you want a school here, if you want a building there, and it kind of gives you different typologies of layouts for either a master plan or even just a plot. Yeah. So there are tools and there are softwares out there that are already doing this. I don't think we're very far off. It's just tying it all in. I think it's just
true.
And also you need everyone to jump on board, because
100%. I mean, there's a significant learning curve there for sure.
Yeah.
I just have the opinion. I mean, as much as I love, the mid journeys and runways and all that's great. I just feel like the design part should get a lot more time, as it tends to suffer quite a bit. And there is sort of like long-term, well, not long-term, but sort of project term benefits as well, in the sense that, and this is a conversation we were having yesterday actually with another colleague, which is if you look at structural systems, right? Typically, because the program's so rushed, you tend to have, this is the system we're going with, this is the design of it, it's code compliant, and let's build it. But no one actually spends more than a week sort of looking at, could we actually refine this system, right? Could we look at removing an element here? Could we look at slightly slimmer columns, which would then mean slightly more sellable area, which would, across 500 units mean it's a significant amount that you can add to your program. Obviously, that's very nuanced, but to get to that level of nuance, you require time. So I feel like if we're able to shave off from everywhere else in the program, which is even the build side, for example, if you have sort of AI plugging in, looking at quantities and RFIs, which can be almost immediately sort of resolved in some way, there's so much time you can shave off.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Yeah.
But it sounds like you agree. So
I'm all for efficiency. They know, around the office, I'm like the efficiency queen. Even though, when I first started as a graduate, I hated time constraints and programs and rules, and I wanted to just be creative because, when you're at school, no one limits your creativity.
Right.
But when you graduate, there's a lot of limitations, and you kind of get shocked when you're first graduating and you get thrown in the deep end at work. There's really a disconnect between, what you learn at school and when you're out in the real world. So for me, it was quite of a shock because I wanted to be this, creative. There was a chaos inside my mind, but the workplace environment kind of forced me to be structured. And that for me, I found it very, very hard, very, very difficult. But coming here into Edge, where it was going through a transformation period. So there was a lack of structure at the start, because there was a structure in place before with the team that was here before, but then there was a new team. So it needed some regeneration, a new structure. There's also a new outlook to what we want our business to be and what kind of projects we want to be in and what kind of, who are the clients that we want to work with too. So there was a lot of restructuring. And then I found myself gravitating towards controlling that and putting in processes and a strategy to a structure and to a process and to streamline things. And I was surprised myself because when I first graduated, did not want to do that. So, efficiency is important for workflow.
Yes.
And it's important because you need to be on time. You need to work within a budget. You need to have creativity. Balancing all of that needs to be, it needs to balance itself out, but it's challenging.
And I think if you look at the other side of the equation as well, if you look sort of internally within a studio, all that feeds in there as well. Because I'm assuming if you are efficient with your deliveries and so on, it then means you have, you'd like to hope for a fairly daily regular cash flow and things like that. You'd
Yes.
like to understand that X amount of resources dedicated to X project will free up or be consumed for X amount of time, which then means you can plan
Yeah.
other resources around other stuff. So yeah, I mean, it sort of works on both ends of it.
Yeah. And then, so the disconnect is, I think they should teach students the business of architecture.
Yeah.
Because you really should know what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Design is only, I say, having seen the other side now, 10%.
I would say more like 5. But yeah.
I'm glad it's close.
Yeah.
But there is so much that goes on, behind the scenes.
Yep.
There's finance. Like you said, there's resourcing. There's getting the right skill sets.
Yeah.
There's getting the right projects. There's the bidding element, the proposals that come in that you have to filter through because you need to read through all the documents and see what can you handle, what can't you handle, and
what terms work for you even.
Exactly.
More importantly.
Contractually as well. You've got to check all the contracts. Yeah. It's a whole marketing as well. Architects don't really know how to market themselves.
Yeah.
So that's a world so the business side of architecture, and this is why I'm very grateful to be at Edge and my position at Edge. I've had the opportunity to step into that side and really learn the business.
Yeah.
What makes a successful architectural business?
Yeah.
It's important, and there is such a disconnect because when you're working along, when you've graduated or you're a few years in, you don't realize why your manager is saying what have you done?
Exactly.
What are the deliverables?
It's not personal.
It's never personal. What are the deliverables? How much time have we actually spent on this?
Yeah. Why timesheet is important? Why are you filling in your hours?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's all tying in to making sure that there is a business at the end of the day, that there is a workflow, that there is a cash flow as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So this is a conversation that we have on the show quite regularly. So not that I'm advocating the other side, but there is an argument from the other side because as we've both been to juries, we're both fairly active in academia and things like that.
That's where we met.
Exactly. So the other side of the argument, when I speak to people in academia, when they talk about students and design and why don't they learn the business of architecture, the argument that I get back, which I'd like to hear your thoughts on, is the architects in architecture school should focus primarily on establishing some kind of design stance in the sense that they should be as out there as possible with their designs. They should be exploring as many systems as they could, really pushing the design learning as much as possible. The reason for that is because they feel that once you enter practice, that sort of bandwidth of design learning, if that's a word, that bandwidth just isn't possible. You can't spend, 12 hours a day for 5 months figuring out what a facade system is, for example. So their sort of argument is that things like the business of architecture is something which you have your entire career of 30, 40 years to sort of pick up and learn.
Yeah.
But the 4 or 5 years that you have in uni should be almost laser focused on becoming a good designer. So I get that, but I also get what you're saying. So
yeah, I mean, it could be a subject, right? Or it could be a internship that's compulsory where you work at an architectural studio and you're exposed to that side.
Yeah.
I think there has to be an element of it in there so that you have a grasp on the reality when you're graduating and you're not completely shocked by it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one to deal with because on the one hand, internships are awesome, no doubt. I've had the most amazing interns who have become colleagues and things like that. Although from a studio point of view, it is sort of a liability if you think about it because it's additional time and resource that you have to sort of dedicate, not knowing theoretically what the output would be.
Yeah.
Having said that, I have a feeling a better way to sort of bridge that gap is to almost silo one element of a live project and have direct student involvement in that realm. For example, when we were working on the Mina Rashid master plan, there was a couple of public realm elements that we were designing. And I said, look, surely we can design that. But I think the core team is probably more better used in terms of, infra coordination or, something like that. And let's give this purely design element out to an intern or a group of interns and let them completely sort of, go nuts.
Yeah. This is within your studio, right?
Yeah. And I found that to be so much better because they just had so much fun with it. And there's fairly minimal sort of engineering input to something like that. I mean, this particular thing was almost like a shaded public seating area kind of piazza, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I found that to be awesome because both can work in parallel. It's not too complicated that they can't wrap their heads around it.
Yeah.
And there's quite a level of creativity that they can involve.
Yeah.
But I think in other firms where I've had interns who have kind of just shadowed me, so to speak. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there wasn't as much learning there.
Yeah. It needs to be a bit more structured.
Yeah.
So that they're like, what is it that they're actually getting out of this internship at the end? You know, are they going to be with the design team for a little bit and then maybe with the detailed group for a little bit and then, in the business side for a little bit. So, but again, like you said, it's time constraint and sometimes you don't have the time to actually sit down and dedicate that kind of, mental space for that person that's coming in.
Yeah.
But, I just remembered something. I was part of a co-design group where we did, this is back home in Melbourne. So there was a elective with the university and working practice. So with the architectural firms, the university and schools. And it was co-design workshops with, I think it was grade 2 or grade 3, grade 4 at the time. We alternated and it was an elective that was done. But it was kind of like a professional practice link with university to work with schools in a disadvantaged area.
Right.
And they're called co-design workshops where you go in and you do a workshop with the students.
Okay.
And you talk about architecture and you get them they don't know what architecture is. So you talk about what is architecture? How would you like to design your house? How would you like to design your school? And you do workshops with the children to develop these kind of skill sets. And then you've got in every workshop someone who is a student and someone who is from a professional practice and obviously a couple of students from the classes. And it was quite nice to see, the blend of the three and the experience, expertise, the different ideas and all of that came into place just with children. And actually children were very inquisitive and very intelligent, asking, all these questions.
Yeah.
So, I just started thinking like maybe some kind of elective, that combines, people from design, people from the business side, and it could be like a workshop that could combine everything together. See, my chaotic mind, it just went into...
No, but it's true. Because I would actually take it a step further and say that you probably want to have even other disciplines in some kind of a course like that.
Yeah, maybe structure, MEP, acoustics.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Because I think there is an advantage to having a younger mind not be constrained by a lot of things which probably you and I are constrained by.
Yeah, I love it because I love when I go to university and I see the projects and the creativity, and I miss that. So when I go and I see it, it's a breath of fresh air.
100%. 100%. I was on a jury very recently where I got into a bit of an argument with a fellow juror where he was obviously criticizing, a 12-meter cantilever. Is it practical? Probably not. I agree. But I sort of made the point that, listen, it's not impossible. You can do a 12-meter cantilever. Should you is a different question, but it can be done. And he was all like, no, but they don't understand structural systems. It's not this. I'm like, well, I don't think they need to be constrained by what is feasible at this point. I think they need to actually understand what's the experience with a 12-meter cantilever. What does it actually do in terms of the experience and the living space and all of that kind of thing?
Yeah.
So I suppose it could go either way, really.
Yeah.
So I kind of then want to switch gears a little bit. If we can come back to Edge, interesting times, obviously, with the new vision that you're moving forward with. For lack of a better word, what's the game plan for Edge? What you guys looking to do? What are you sort of focusing on or concurrently diversifying into? What's the new vision rather?
The new vision is that we are designing with meaning and designing for purpose. And that's our ethos here in our office. We really want to take a step back and in our projects have this human-centric approach. What is the end user and how is this going to be used?
All right. I can then probably ask something which is a bit more laser focused, which is typically towards the end of the episodes, we've obviously spoken about, where we are in the design ecosystem at the moment. Is it perfect? By no means. There's a lot of improvement that we can do. So I typically like to ask architects like yourself, if you could sort of wave your magic wand, so to speak, and change one thing about the design ecosystem. It could be across anything. It could be education, practice, studio, contracts, design ethos, whatever. If you could change one thing in our design ecosystem, what would you want to change?
Oh my goodness, that's such a There's so many ways you can answer this
Yeah.
question.
So you can pick the one that comes to mind first. That's what I recommend.
Yeah. I mean, we were mentioning before, we were talking about Edge. So I really wanted to bring up that here at Edge, we're working, with like-minded clients, and we want to be able to design with meaning and design for purpose. And that's something that we want to carry through in our projects. So if I want to change anything, it would be to really focus in on that when we're actually working on a project.
Right.
To pause sometimes, to reflect, to why are we designing this? To look at the end user and not just rush through certain things. And I feel like it's good sometimes to work within a program, but like we spoke before, it kind of sometimes puts a limit onto why it is that we're doing what we're doing. So if I wanted to change anything in the process, it would be at the initial stage, at the start of a project, is to really fine tune the brief. What's the end user experience?
Yes, 100%.
And what's the short term, if it's a space or if it's a building or if it's a master plan. So what's the short term effect? What's the long term effect as well? And usually I find that there isn't enough time given to do all of that. So if I had the chance, I would put everyone in the room and do workshops to
that
really,
would make sense.
Workshops to really fine tune and
across all the stakeholders, I would think.
Yeah, because communication is so important, and I feel like a lot gets lost at the start in communication. So we used to do this back home in one of my practices where we'd have a lot of stakeholder, communication and workshops, and we'd get everybody in the room. And it's usually because we had large master plans, placemaking and estate making and things like that. So you really needed to fine tune what kind of users what kind of mixed use spaces you're going to have there. So we had multiple workshops, but I found them to be very, very
informative.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
So if that's one thing I could do, I would do that here. The other thing would be linking public and private space.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one here.
Connecting public and private space.
Yeah.
It's really, really, but that's what I'm interested in. That's what draws me to the piece. I'm an architect, but I also love placemaking, urban design, what makes a place, what makes a city, where's the park, where do people sit, where do people walk, where's the closest public transport system, where's the best coffee, from Melbourne. So I'm biased.
100%.
But it's connecting these spaces. And I think the success of a city, the success of a space is how public space ties into private space.
Yes.
What's the link between them?
Yeah. I think not traditionally, but over the last, I would say 20 years or something that's happened is that, I know this sounds so trivial to say, but I feel like the weather has really influenced the way people design here.
Yes.
Wherein I think there was this notion of summer bad, inside good, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which actually is not the case. I mean,
if you think about it, how many months are out of the year? How many months is it?
I would say it's kind of 2 or 3.
Exactly.
Yeah, July to
it's
August
not 6.
probably. Yeah.
It's just a few months.
Yeah, which I see a lot of clients now really addressing, wherein they're thinking about outdoor spaces which are activated even year long, wherein we were looking at a project where we had this outdoor space and the client was like, yeah, we can have some, revenue generation. We can have a couple of retailers, etc., all year round. And how do we actually get bums on seats and get foot traffic in? And then we started thinking about natural shading, adding shading elements, adding passive cooling in the form of, water spouts and like a rain shower that happens every now and then and things like that.
Yeah.
Just to bring the sort of overall ambient dew point down, so to speak. And they were actually for that.
Yeah.
Because, obviously there's financial gain, I suppose, but the sort of notion of, summer's just too hot to do anything. I feel like that's evolving. I don't know if that's what you're seeing as well.
Yeah. So definitely it's changing, and we're starting to look at that, and clients are asking for that too, because what developers and clients are finding is that communities are drawn to spaces, to outdoor spaces, to connection, to parks, like you said, places to stay, places to connect. That's what actually makes a livable space. And like you said, it has to tie back to economically, is it going to be financially viable for them? So when you tie the two and connect it all together, they will accept it, and they're actually asking for it. So on one of our projects, which is residential development, what was nice and what the client had already in mind, they had a sticker in between two of their plots, and they already had in mind that they wanted to activate these stickers and they wanted to connect it to the building. So we have a community sticker now that's activated that connects to the building. So we've kind of designed the spaces around it to link and open out onto it.
Gotcha.
So it's quite nice. It's a new way of thinking and giving back to the community. So you've got retail spaces there, which is economics and, financial, it's beneficial. But you're also giving the community something. So if a person is actually looking into buying this property, they will look at all the community
100%.
amenities.
100%.
Where am I walking? How am I going to the pool? And where is my nearest supermarket? Where is my nearest cafe?
Yeah.
So
in
all
my
this
case,
stuff,
it would definitely be coffee for sure.
all this stuff, it all ties in
Yes.
and it makes a space, the life between buildings, as Jan Kell calls it, which is...
Gotcha. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There's another space here that I saw it getting transformed. I'm not sure if it's in Al-Sokal Avenue.
Yeah.
So it was obviously warehouse spaces.
Yes.
And privatized, but they have this organization that's activated the public spaces within it. So now they've got a public plaza with seats, with trees, with shades, and it's transformed the whole space because I go there sometimes on Saturdays, and where before you were forced just to maybe sit at a cafe and maybe just inside, you can't really sit.
Not even outside.
Exactly. Now you can actually, sit outside. You can grab a coffee if you want. You can grab a croissant if you want, whatever it is, or you can gather with friends there. And it's changed the environment so much, and it's become more of a destination, a place to go.
Yeah, but specifically that the public space has become a place to go, not a venue or a cafe or anything like that.
Yes, and I think more of these spaces is what's going to really make our spaces here in Dubai a lot more livable and happier spaces.
I think an example I can remember, again, having been a resident here, obviously going to, there are public parks and public beaches, which is fine, but we've never really had a public space to go to. And I think it was when downtown had opened. I remember there was one of my friends who was saying, let's go to the fountains. Let's meet at the fountains. And I was like, wait, so that's not a coffee shop? That's not a restaurant? We're just at the, what are you going to do at the fountains? Outside? He's like, no. It's awesome. They got coffee there. They got this. And that was the first time I think I actually realized that, you can actually meet at a completely public place without really it being a park or a beach or anything like that.
And then it makes you think architecture really isn't singular. It's connected.
100%.
It's everything. It's not just one space, although that space could be amazing, but it's everything tied together.
Gotcha. Yeah. Wow. So much, right? People think that architecture is just designing a building or something, but there's so much more to it.
There is so much more to
nuanced.
it. Yes, definitely.
So, Noelle, obviously, we have a lot that we can talk about, but I think for this episode, as we wind down, I'd like to sort of at this junction always look forward. So I like asking designers like yourself, what's next for Noelle? What are you looking to achieve, work on, change, whatever it may be? What's the sort of your vision that you're working towards?
Oh, such a nice question.
It can be across anything. It doesn't have to be practice or anything like that. It could be anything.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to work on a project, and we're getting them in-house at the moment, but I want to work on a project where there's a retrofitting element.
Retrofitting?
Yeah. And it could be retrofitting of a space. It could be retrofitting of an existing neighborhood. And how do you bring this neighborhood to life? Exactly. So, and I feel like there's a lot of potential here in the region for retrofitting buildings, retrofitting spaces, and I'd love to get my hands on one of them.
100%. I think again, a decade or two back, that would have been a very difficult project to get just because there is nothing to retrofit just yet.
There is a lot at the moment.
I think there's a lot of projects which have sort of crossed that 50, 60 year mark, wherein not only are they dated, but they probably don't work even anymore.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few of them coming online. So I think that might be a reality very soon.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, because our focus is mixed use residential, we also are focusing on hospitality, master plans, and, retrofitting can fit into any one of those.
Yeah.
We had a good experience at Nobu, Atlantis the Palm, when we transformed the existing presidential suite that was on level 22. So that became the new Nobu. And that was quite an eye-opener into how can you retrofit in the hospitality realm and how can you transform a space, not just aesthetically, visually, but it becomes economically viable. You activate the ground floor, you bring in that exclusivity for the guests to come up to level 22. And then that, becomes its own thing as well. So it was an eye-opener for me how it could work here in the region, in the world of hospitality. But then I started thinking about it as well in the world of urban planning, urban design, neighborhoods, districts. You see it kind of happening in the Fahidi district, the activation, the new museum that's there and that space. Yeah. As I mentioned, you see it in the Asukal, how it's activated. So I'm interested in that. That's what interests me and moves me. It's like you can see my analysis brain.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's something I love to do. And I feel like there's a big opportunity here for it.
100%. Well, we're very excited. I look forward to seeing what you then work on over the next couple of years, because it'll be quite interesting to see. As sort of a closing tradition on the show, we have something called the aForm tradition, which is basically a question that's been asked by a previous guest, not knowing who the next guest is.
Okay.
And the current guest does not know who asked the question, so it's kind of like completely blind.
Okay.
It's just for a bit of fun. Sometimes it's quite silly, and sometimes it's quite philosophical.
Okay.
So you never really know what you're going to get. So I think we have a question for you today. Let me pull it up very quickly. I see that our team has spammed our group with memes. Thanks, guys. Looking for the question here, and all I see is like dog meme, dog meme, dog meme, dog meme. It's fine.
Got to keep it fun,
Yeah, it's fine. So, okay. It's kind of along the line. We did sort of speak about it in the beginning. The question is, as a designer, how do you think AI will affect your family life and relationships? So I think this could be in terms of partners, kids, whatever, but sort of outside the studio is, I think, what they meant to ask.
AI.
Yeah.
Interesting question.
So how do you think AI will affect your family life and relationships?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't say, I can't really imagine how it could affect it directly, but I'm finding that ChatGPT, AI, can help in so many ways. I mean, sometimes even, you don't know the answer to something, or you don't know how to, approach something. And sometimes these days I find myself going to ChatGPT and asking it. So it kind of is my personal assistant, my, personal trainer sometimes, my therapist, my...
Everything I need.
Everything I need at the moment, to be honest with you. But how it would affect my family and all of that, I can't really imagine it or think about it. But I already find myself going online and asking certain questions.
Yeah. I think if I were to give a bit more context, because obviously I'm now remembering who asked the question.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I'm now trying to think under what context it was asked, and it's now coming back to me. So that person was, after the episode, we spoke about how AI kind of could do things like automatically order groceries when your, stock is down or whatever it is, planning school runs or automatically doing school runs now that you have, Teslas that self-drive and whatever, integrating into scheduling time and scheduling things. So kind of almost becoming integrated into your personal life, but across your relationships. I think that was sort of the context of it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be my personal assistant. I would love that.
Yeah.
My little minion.
Sitting right here at all times.
My minion, Yeah.
24 hours, never gets tired, never has an attitude, never wants weekends off. Perfect. Absolutely.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a pretty, I don't know if it's a fun question or a deep question. I feel like it's a bit of both at the moment.
It's a bit of both, but first time I've ever been asked this kind of question, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. Well,
how would you answer the question?
I'm trying to think of it myself, right? Because I'm at a, not a unique position, but definitely a different point in my life wherein I have a 2-year-old daughter who essentially runs the house at this point.
That makes all the decisions. She's the boss.
Yeah. It's like, this is when we will sleep. This is when we'll wake up.
Exactly.
And I'm now, because it's obviously our first child, companionship in Dubai is very difficult to get going, even if you are in a community. I mean, where we live, we specifically chose that place because of the sort of neighborhood that it was, the public spaces, the parks, the playgrounds, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And I've found that isn't always necessarily going to result in what you think it will. So for me, AI would be, I mean, for me, definitely my calendar, 100%.
Yeah.
Like I feel like my calendar can be very much cleaned up and keep me honest.
What can I achieve today? Tell me honestly.
Exactly. I mean, can I really hit the 5 meetings, or should I just do 2 and maybe Zoom call the other, something like that. So that for sure. But I think for me, it's kind of like I struggle at times to find stimulating entertainment for the both of us, because there's only so many nursery rhymes I can do.
Yeah.
So I think AI would kind of help almost in a ChatGPT way, where I could just be like, we got 2 hours and we got a pen and paper, give us a fun activity we can do together, that kind of thing, which again probably goes down your minion, like personal assistant route. But realistically, I mean, I would like for it to do a lot of the mundane stuff. That's the main thing. So I hate grocery shopping. Like it's a bane of my existence, but I have to do it. So things like that, as all the mundane stuff I'd like to get rid of.
Yeah. All the stuff that takes brain space,
exactly,
and time and all of that.
Exactly. Yeah. So fascinating question.
Yeah.
So on behalf of the show, I'd like to obviously thank you for your time. I know that time is the one resource that we all don't have.
No, so thanks for inviting me. Pleasure to be.
The more of it that we can get, we're always very grateful. And I think conversations like these are what really elevate the entire ecosystem. Hopefully we've inspired someone listening in.
I hope.
And on behalf of the show, we just like to thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Awesome. And for the rest of you guys, we will catch you guys next week. Fellow aFormer, thank you so much for your time. If this episode added any value to you, please share it with anyone who may benefit. If you want to carry on the discussion, please get in touch with us over socials. We are at aForm Show on the gram and hello@aform.studio on email. That is at aForm Show on the gram and hello@aform.studio on email. Until next time, stay inspired.